All right, hello and welcome back to our fourth video in this series. So happy to be talking to the IA Club again. It's been a while since we last chatted, and now it's a new semester and we're getting back into the groove of things. So let's pick up right where we left off with these tutorials. And I'm going to quickly jump into just really quick some of the layers I've set up already, some of the standards I use, so you can just quickly see those. And if you want, you can create them. Just go ahead and pause the video when I show them and you can create them on your own. After that, we're going to set up your dimension lines so that everything works well. We're going to set up your default text styles. And then once we finish setting up the default text styles, I'll show you how to set up a printing template, or basically a plotting style that will be a standard. So your prints will always come out perfect. And once we have all of that in place, we'll actually go ahead and save it all as a standard template. So every time you hop on AutoCAD, you'll be able to directly open the template and everything will be ready to go. So to jump into it, this is a new drawing that I've opened up here. As you can see, because we haven't saved it as a template, our unit's swapped back to a decimal. So go ahead at first thing and change that back to an architectural unit. After that, in our layer manager, you'll see all the layers that I've set up. Let me import it actually. I haven't opened the new template in this one. So there we go. So if you look in the layers, these are all the layers that I've created. Let me blow this up for you. These are standard in the architecture field as a basically layer presets that they use. They divide it up very specifically, as you can see. It's like A ano, A ano, A ano, and then they all say different things here. So this is all the names. A stands for architectural, and then ano is an annotation, which means it's a writing somewhere on there. And then this is what it's annotating. So we got text and viewports and revision clouds. Over here we have a door, which is architectural door swing. And then when it says a elevate or AELEV dims, that's saying it's for elevation. So it's saying architectural elevations, the dimension lines, architectural elevation hidden lines, architectural elevation line weight 1, 2, outlines, pat, that's pat is for like hatches, that's like the fill text. And then you see a fixture, that's architectural fixtures, architectural fixtures faucets. Case is usually for a closet. This is a glass. And then over here, A section dims. These are all for sections. And then, as you can see, A wall, exterior, interior, pat. So if you want, go ahead and pause this video, create all of these layers. It's really helpful for you to create them now, because when we save this at the template at the end of the video, you'll never have to create them again. So these are the colors, the line weights, all of that. I recommend you set this up first. If you want, you can then go over here and group them into filters like I did. You could just right click here, create new group filter and name it whatever you want, and then drag whatever layers you want in there. I broke them up by basically elevations, sections, and then what I use to construct my regular floor plans. What's nice is if you set a group filter and I set, like, for example, I set construction as the main filter, basically what happens is I only have these to select from when I'm working over here, so I don't get overwhelmed. When I pull up my layer manager, these are all the layers I have in construction. But if I put it in annotative, these are all the ones I have in annotative. If I select the floor plan ones, these are all the ones, both annotative and construction, I have for floor plan. So it's a really nice way to sort through your filters. So I recommend setting that up. Once you've finished that, we're going to move on and we're going to set up your dimension lines really quickly. So I'm actually going to go back to the standard file I have, not the template, to show you how to set these up. So first thing you'll want to do is pull up your dimension style manager, which you can pull up by just typing in ddim, and it'll pull it up. You can also find it by typing in dim style, and that'll pull it up. So you should get a menu like this. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new one. So just go over here and create new. When we hit that, it's saying copy of standard because it's using the default standard as the template to start something new, which is fine. And you'll see all these tabs. These are basically breaking down every little component of dimensions that you can edit. So there's a very specific type I like, and it's basically when I learned AutoCAD in 2013, it was like the standard we used back then in our textbook, and I just kept it for all these years because it works amazing. So I'll just teach you that really quickly. You're going to first click over to primary units, and you're going to change the unit format to architectural. This is to match the units we are going to be working in. Now, precision, this is talking about how precise the dimensions can go. It depends. You usually want to be pretty precise. Like, you shouldn't be messing up on your drawings that much. But there's a little way to cheat. If your line's a little bit off, you can change your precision. I usually like to leave my precision on about 1/2 or 1/4 when I do these. Usually 1/4 is what I like. So I'm going to set that to 1/4. Then you're going to create basically your fraction format. Do you like it horizontal, diagonal, or not stacked? I prefer not stacked. It's kind of the standard. You can see a preview over here. So horizontal versus not stacked. So I'm going to set that to not stacked. Over here, this is zero suppression. So this is saying when, like, for example, right here, this says 1 inch. Now, zero suppression, when I turn this off, now you see what that means? It has the 0 feet first. So 0 feet, 1 inch. So if you have this checked, it's suppressing that 0, meaning it's not showing up on the documentation. I prefer to actually have this on there. So it's 0 feet, 1 inch. This is a personal preference. You can turn it on or off. I usually leave it off. And I also do the same thing for inches. So that's, make sure you have all of those things. That's all we're going to do on this tab. Next, we'll go to arrows and symbols. Now, arrows and symbols, these are talking about basically these little arrows right here and basically how far they offset and all of that. So the close fill is just not good. You want to use either architectural tick or oblique. Architectural tick is a little bit thicker than the oblique, so I actually prefer the oblique. As you can see here, it changes. Just go ahead and watch that right there. That's architectural, and this is oblique. So oblique is a little sleeker, so we're going to go with that. Next, we're going to change the arrow size. So this is just how big that oblique is. It's at 3/16. The standard I learned was 1/16, and I prefer that. It's just a little bit shorter. Oops, excuse me. And then basically what we're going to do is I'm also going to change the center marks. Right now it's at 3/30 seconds. I'm going to change that to 1/30 second. And then once you have those, we're going to go over to the lines tab at the top. And we're going to edit these two. So extend beyond dim lines. So this is saying how far do they extend beyond the dimension lines. We're going to say 1/16. And you can see how much slimmer that happened right there. Verse 3/16, we're going to do 1/16. Okay, the next thing we're going to change on here is extend beyond ticks. So you should see extend beyond ticks right here. We're going to change that to 1/16. And you can see that take effect too. So once those are done, we're going to move to the next tab, which will be the text height. Or should be text. We're going to edit the text height, excuse me. And once again, the magic number, 1/16. Okay. And then what we're going to change is the vertical. Right now it says centered. We're actually going to put this above. This is so just like text placement. It's saying like on a vertical, do you want it centered or do you want it above? So do you see like that's centered? I want it above. So you get the extension line. Basically comes off. Okay, so once you have that, then we're going to do offset from dimension line right here. We're going to change that once again to a 1/32. And once you have that set in place, for text placement right here, you're going to want to put aligned with dimension line, which you can see right here. It changes it. So like that just looks so bad. So when you align it, it's much better. Okay. And then we're going to hit the dots, dot, dot right here by the standard. So this is basically saying like which text are you going to use. This is like the text style manager. In standard, it uses Arial. We're going to actually create a new text for dimension lines. Just go ahead and hit new. It's going to say style one. Just rename it dimensions. Go ahead and hit OK. We're going to actually click this. This is, make sure you're selected this. Now you can change the font name. Now, for my dimensions, I always choose it's called simple. What is it called? Simple X, I believe. And basically, when you're looking at these, so you see all these regular ones right here. They don't have any extensions after them. That means that those are fonts that you could find in like Microsoft Word. If it has the .shx, that means it's like AutoCAD's own text like style, so you can't actually get it in Word. It's developed for AutoCAD, just by AutoCAD for AutoCAD. So scroll down to the S. We're gonna go to Simple X. Should be up here somewhere. Here it is, Simple X .shx. You can see the sample here. So make sure you have that. And then once you have that, just hit apply and close. And so once that's applied, now you got to change the text style here to the dimension one you just created. So set that. Okay, next we're going to go over to the fit tab. So for the fit tab, basically what you want to do is you want to go to just make sure a couple of things. Make sure either text or arrow best fit is selected. This should be default. Just make sure it is. The next, you're going to just check the annotative scale. Basically what this means is it means that the scale is going to change with this, whatever the scale you set your drawing to be at. So it basically scales with it. So, and it does the arithmetic for you. Basically what happens otherwise is your dimensions are going to be way too small or way too big, depending on when you change it. So there's actually, let me show you here. Let me annotate this. So basically what happens is let's say like we want our text height to be like 1/16 of an inch, okay? So that's our text height, 1/16 of an inch. Now let's say like our drawing is maybe like 1/8 inch scale. So that's 1/8 inch equals 1 foot, right? So basically what that's saying is if we want our text height to be 1/16 of an inch in a 1/8 inch equals a foot drawing, basically what that means is we got to times this by 8 first. So 8 times 12 is going to be 96. So 96. So if we want this to be 1/16, it's going to be 1/16 times 96, right, would actually equal 6. So that means if we didn't have annotative scale, we would have to go and specifically type in a certain tab. You'd have to specifically type in that the size, the dim size, the dim scale will be 6 inches, which would actually make your font 1/16 of an inch on the paper. So all that arithmetic I just did, when you check annotative scale, AutoCAD will basically do it automatically for you. That's what annotative scale does. So it basically does that arithmetic for you. So that's kind of what that's doing there. Okay, so now that that's cleared up, it's important you understand that because later you might have to actually like change the dim scale or something. So it's kind of a complex thing to learn, but you should know what that's doing. Okay. So once that's pretty much set up, the last thing you're going to want to do is just hit OK, and then you're going to want to select it. So copy a standard. Let's actually rename it really quick. So I'm going to do standard preferred. So I don't know, name it whatever you want. I'm just naming that. And then we're going to want to select set current, and then you can just close that out. So that's going to be your new dimension style. So let's test this out. Let's just go 10 feet. Okay, and then let's test it out with our dimension. Oh, I have to set the, so because I'm in 1:1, which is full scale, it's saying what's your annotative scale, because we selected annotative. So this is saying what is the scale that you want us to size this text to. So we're just gonna do it in like 1/4 for now. So let's test it out. It should be perfect, beautiful. So see how nice that looks. So your dimension line is set now. Okay. So the next thing we're going to look at here is basically we're going to look at, we're going to change a text style or a default text. So we're going back to the text manager that we were in before, but we're going to get there the simple way. Just type in style, or ST for short. So ST, and that's going to bring your default text style manager, which is where we already went to create our dimensions. We're just going to create a new one. So I'm going to click standard, just use as default. I'll click new, and this will be standard preferred, kind of like how we did for our dimension line. So standard preferred. So with standard preferred selected, we're going to change the font. You can find whatever font you want. I actually like this kind of like hand style. Looks like an architect wrote it by hand, which is City Blueprint. So I'm going to use City Blueprint as mine. So I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit annotative. Once again, this is doing that arithmetic that I told you before. It's saying paper text height. Leave this 0 for now, because it'll let you basically, when you go to draw text on your drawing, it'll prompt you so you can create different heights for whatever you want. If you only wanted this to be a specific height, like 1/4 of an inch high on a piece of paper, you could type it in here, and then whenever you use this font, it's always going to be that. But I like to leave it 0, and then I can set it when I go to create my text on my drawing. So go ahead and do that. Hit apply. Click standard prefer, the one you just created, and set current, and then close. So to test it out, you can try a text command, type DT. This is a single line text command. You'll hit enter. It's saying specify where to start. We'll just click here. Now it's going to want to know, if you read down at the bottom down here, it says specify paper height. So this is what I was saying. Now we're getting prompted, how high do you want that text? Because we didn't enter it. So let's type in 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Now it's saying angle of rotation. This is like, do you want it to go vertical, left, or right? We're going to just make sure ortho's on, and we're going to drag it to the right, and then just hit okay. Just hit click. You can type in like bathroom, and then it's right there. Boom. We got beautiful text. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is plotting styles. So basically what happens, I'm going to jump back to the one with all the layers created to show you this. So when you have all these layers, and you have all these colors for all these layers, and you see them all, the problem with these is when you go to print, they're all going to print in color. So we're going to create a specific plot style, basically, so that these don't print in color. They'll print in black and white by default. So to do that, we're going to want to create what's called a color dependent plot style, which means whenever a certain color appears, you're actually assigning it a different color value when it prints. So if it's like cyan, you're saying everything that's cyan in my drawing, when I go to plot it or print it, it'll automatically print as black instead of cyan. So we're basically going to set that for all these different colors. So to do that, you're basically going to have to type in this crazy command. It's called R14 Pen Wizard, Pen Wizard. And this is the wizard that appears to create new plot styles, so color dependent plot style. So you should get add color dependent plot style table begin. Perfect. You're going to start from scratch. It's going to be a completely new one. You're going to hit next. File name, name it whatever you want. We'll do color to black. I already have this, so I might get an error message. Yeah, file exists. So I'm just going to name it color to BW, color to black and white. But I would name just color to black. So once you hit that, you're going to get the, you're going to want to click plot style table editor. You'll get this window. Now, this is where you select the colors that you want to change their value to. So all the colors of my layers that you saw are all between colors 1 and 7. So I'm just going to highlight, I'm going to shift and click 1 to 7. And then where it says properties color, it's right now it says use object color. You're going to click that, and that's where you're going to set it to black. So it's saying all of these colors turn their colors black when we print it, is basically what that's saying. So once you have that selected, then all you have to do is click save and close. And then right here it says use this plot style for current drawing. So yes, you want to use it for your current drawing, but you might also want to use it for all of them. If you're going to use it for all of them, just select that as well. But basically, I would just click finish here, but I'm actually going to cancel because I already have a plot style assigned. So I'm just going to leave that as is, but you should click finish there. Now, once you've done that, you should be good to go on that. And we're going to set up basically what's called a layout now, which is over here. It's basically a printing space. We're going to set that up so when you plot, everything's good. First things first, before we go over there to do that, you're going to need to set this layer called ANO VPRT, ANO viewport. So if you haven't created that layer or these layers yet, at least create this one, ANO viewport. Make it green, a continuous line at a 0.6 inch, and I actually need to edit the name or the description here because this is not the right description. This should be viewport. It's going to be a viewport border. Okay. So make sure you have that selected and you're going to set that as your current layer. This should be here, set current. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to click layout 1, or you're going to click layout 1. I already did mine. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. So I'll do it on layout 2, but you should go to layout 1. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to right click your layout 1 and you're going to do page setup manager. And you'll just have layout 1 here, so you should have it selected. And once you have that selected, you're just going to go ahead and click new. Layout 2. Okay, so new page setup name. I'm just going to leave it as like setup 1. That's fine. So name it whatever you want. I'm naming it setup 1. So you're going to select your printer. So whatever printer you're using, I usually use the Microsoft Office Jet series, but since I already have this one set up, I'm actually going to use a Microsoft print to PDF because sometimes I need to print as a PDF to send it to people. So I'll set this one up. So once that's selected, notice here, plot style table. This is what we created. So if you don't have color to black here, you need to change that. So click the drop down and just find it. You should be listed here somewhere. Select your color to black and make sure that's there. Just verify a couple of things. Make sure the scale is at a 1:1. And depending on what you're printing, you should do landscape or portrait. My last one set up to portrait. I'm going to set this to portrait. This kind of depends on which way you're drawing. Like if you're drawing something really long left to right, you might want landscape. If you're doing up and down, you might want portrait. So it depends on what you're drawing. So make sure that's there. And then pretty much once that's done, you're just going to hit OK. And should be there. You'll just like set it and close. So notice oh wait, I didn't set current. Set current. You got to hit set current, then hit close. Okay, so now you should have this. You're looking at this funky thing. And basically what this is it's two different spaces. So this is saying this is the piece of paper you're printing. This little box right here, this is actually a window. Picture this as like a window into your model space. So I'm just going to draw a sample of something. Let's do a 10-foot, call it a 10-foot square. I'm going to move it. Just going to move it like here. And I'm going to, just for example's sake, I'm going to draw like a quick dimension on it. So we'll say that's an interior wall that measures 10 by 10. Okay, so I'm going back to my layout here. So now you actually can see that box that I drew there. So this is what that is. So we're gonna need to resize this. So I need to set my layer back to viewer. So what we're gonna do is just click the grip here and just move it up, and then click this grip and move it to the side. If it will let me, there we go. And you want to leave a border of about like an inch of what would be an inch of paper space. That makes sense. So that's pretty good actually. Just don't want it like you want to make sure that there's room because you don't want it cut off, if that makes sense. So let's see here. Maybe like here. Okay, that's probably good. It's a little bit off. Let's go there. Okay, so that's looking good. So you can resize it with that. If you click inside here and you start getting this, that means you basically what happens if you click inside the window, you're working in model space. So this lets you move around your model like a window, and you just have to double click on the paper, and that'll bring you back to paper space. So go ahead and double click in the model, and we're gonna need to turn the grid off for this. So just type in grid display, hit enter, and set the value. It says enter new value for grid display, enter 0, and it turns the grid off. You see? So now what you're going to want to do is click back to paper space, click your viewport. Now right click it. Now this is probably the most important part. Right click your viewport and bring up the properties menu. So let me see, properties right here. You get this menu. Now scroll down and there should be standard. So this says miscellaneous. Excuse me for the noise here. So this says miscellaneous. Annotation scale is 1/4 equals 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. You're gonna want to change the standard to match it. 1/4 equals 1 foot. Oh my gosh, this truck is so loud. I apologize. I live in an apartment complex, so. Okay, so standard 1/4 equals 1 foot. Now this standard, you should always match your standard to what you want your drawing scale to be. So for example, in my model, my drawing scale is 1/4 equals 1 foot, 1/4 inch equals a foot. So that is why I set this viewport value to standard 1/4 equals 1 foot. What that means is inside this model viewport, it scales my drawing to be whatever I set this at. So I scaled it to 1/4 of a foot. So now this drawing is 1/4 equals a foot. When I print this in real life, if I take an architect scale and put it here, it'll actually be 1/4 equals a foot. So that's what that does. So now it's nice, it's centered. You're good to go. What you can do now is in your layers, your ANA viewport layer that you created, turn it off with the light bulb and it'll disappear. So now this, there you go. This is what you're going to print right here. And on Paperspace, you can add text if you want. You can do DT and you can click here and we want to size it. We want it 1/4 of an inch high in Paperspace. There you go. And we can name this test square. And I'm bad. Should not be in my dimensions layer. This should be in my text layer. Okay, and I'm gonna move it. Perfect. Okay, so there's our test square. Everything's good. And now to print it, you just gotta right click here and hit plot. And I get this warning because I have this open in a different layer and saying, do you want to batch plot? Do you want to print all of these? And I'm saying, no, we're just going to do continue to plot a single sheet. And it'll pull it up. This is our setup one. This is the plot thing we already specified. Everything should be good. Just hit OK. And because I did a PDF, it's asking me where I want to save it. I'm just going to say on my desktop. And we'll name it test square. Okay, it should be exported now. And so now, let's check it out. New share. I need to share my primary screen with you so you can see it. Okay, and here's my PDF. I'll pull it up. And ta-da, there's our test square, and it's all to scale. So that's how you set up your plot manager. So let's go back. Okay, we're gonna go back to model space over here. And I'm gonna change the screen share just back to my AutoCAD again because it's a little clearer, I think. Okay, perfect. So now that that is all set up, I'm gonna delete the test square. We don't need it anymore. And you're gonna wanna save it as a template now. So that means when we save this as a template, you'll be able to just reopen it and start it with here with all your layers, all your viewports, everything set up so that you can just print and be on your way. So we're gonna go to hit the A at the top left. And there should be save as. You're gonna wanna hit save as. And now this is important. It's gonna have a drawing file here. You don't wanna save it as a drawing. You wanna click the drop down. Click the drop down on the file type. And you want to save it as AutoCAD drawing template file .dwt. So this is a template. So we're going to name it. I'm going to name this one test template. Okay. And I'll hit save. And it says description of the template. This is the description I already had from my last one. Type whatever you want in and go ahead and hit OK. And boom. Now, every time you go on AutoCAD, you can open that template and it'll start you off with everything already here. So let's actually give that a try. I'm going to go to the start. I'm going to do a new drawing. And we'll hit open right here. And right here, it's going to say, oh, what do you want to open? These are all templates. And if it doesn't show up here, sometimes it'll pop open like this. Change this file type to a file type you want to open to .dwt. And then once you've done that, it'll say test template. There it is that we saved or whatever you named it. Click that, hit open, and boom, everything's here. Your layouts are done. Your layers are all here and everything's ready to go. So you can start, once you've set all that up and saved it, every time you start a new drawing, just open the template and everything's already set for you, ready to go. And now we're actually ready to draw. So our next video will look at some basic commands and teach you some basic stuff you should know about coordinates and how to draw using coordinates accurately. So we'll take a look at that next time. Thanks for joining me on the page setups, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. All right.